Let's go Brandon Johnson in Chicago getting an absolute spanking from the city council. They voted 50-0 to the genius with the pointy hair, saying basically, yeah, your $350 million property tax increase in order to make up for the $1 billion budget because you spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the illegals. Yeah, no. They gave him a Dikembe Mutombo, no, and said, we're not doing that. 50-0. Let's get into it. Here we go.
Rob, tonight, there are no new answers on where that hundreds of millions of dollars will now come from. But city council members say this afternoon they spoke loud and clear on behalf of Chicago taxpayers.
Loud and clear.
A hard red no lit up the board inside city council chambers, swiftly and unanimously slashing Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposed $300 million property tax hike.
Today, we just lost $2 billion in revenue. So we have a serious issue that we have to deal with.
What this does is resets the process in short order. So a good day for the taxpayers of the city of Chicago.
That process of starting fresh, trying to close a $1 billion budget gap, will be truncated. City council has to balance the budget by year's end. So where does that money come from?
I think that we should look at perhaps reducing the amount of the pension advance. I think we should look at perhaps assigning some of our ARPA dollars. We still have some of those federal dollars that are available to us to close that gap in the short term.
I believe everybody should take at least one furlough day per pay period. That will get us a boatload of money because we have to show the people that we have skin in the game, that we're willing to trim fat before we even come to them and ask them to reach in their pockets.
Just off that resounding rejection by city council, we raised that proposal to Mayor Johnson. Is that something you're open to?
To cut services? No, we're not committed to cutting services. Which day do you think Chicagoans want police officers not to be on the job? Or streets and sanitation? Like, which day do we pick to make sure that their firefighters and EMTs are no longer available on that day? Which day?
Tweaking taxes on items like alcohol
Sunday
and cigarettes has been raised, so has increasing garbage collection fees. Now jockeying for program funding and any digestible cutbacks begins anew.
If we can't find a way to fill that budget hole, then we don't need to be here.
But not property taxes.
No property taxes.
So one of the massive things with Let's Go Brandon Johnson was that he campaigned on no new taxes. Read my lips, right?
Tomorrow, those budget negotiations will begin again with committee hearings and department meetings, people trying to justify their budgets and look for any available places to trim or perhaps generate some revenue for the city. We're live at City Hall tonight. Liz Nagy, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
Good morning. It is 7.
It's going to be a tricky one. I mean, so where's the money going to come from? Where's the money going to come from? You got $1 billion deficit. How much did Kamala Harris just spend on her campaign? I think it was $1 billion. She could have saved all of these cuts that Chicago's going to make. But instead, she spent $1 billion with a B on a loser of a campaign. One of the worst campaigns ever. I don't know if you've seen folks on the left saying, it's the greatest run campaign. No, you lost. You got your ass handed to you. It cost $1 billion. All that money. Just go to Chicago. Give it to Chicago. It's all good. It's all good. It's fine. Chicago City Council unanimously voted down Mayor Brandon Johnson's $300 million. I thought it was $350 in a special meeting Thursday. Aldermen voted 50-0 on the hike without any debate. This is the city of Chicago basically telling Let's Go Brandon Johnson to F himself, and they are not dealing with him anymore. Hey, let's go Brandon. No. And in a resounding no. 50-0. That is just an absolute ass kicking in political terms. I mean, how embarrassing. You go in, to have this vote. There's no discussion. They don't even talk about it. No back and forth, but they absolutely say, yep, nope, boop, nay. 50 of them across the board. It was meant to help close a budget gap of nearly $1 billion. So a couple of days ago, let's go Brandon Johnson. He comes out with his geniusness, pointy haircut. And, he states, well, yeah, I'm willing to negotiate on this. I am willing to negotiate, because he was getting zero support from his council members. He could tell this isn't going anywhere. So he threw out this, $300 million, bump in taxes after he literally campaigned on not doing that. And here we are. So the city council members are like, no, we're not doing that. A devastating loss for Mayor Johnson, for Let's Go Brandon Johnson. I've been here, going on 17 years. I've never seen this kind of vote take place. What does that tell you? Woke, go broke. Because Brandon Johnson is woke. How is that working out? City of Chicago, how is that working out for you? I was reading an article, and I might do a podcast on it. There is a couple of Republicans in the area around the Supermare in Thornton Township area. And they're trying to make a comeback. They're trying to big back, red in a very, very blue area. And it's because people are so fed up with having blue politicians tell them, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is what I'm going to do for you. And then just bend them over and take them to Pound Town, right? Yeah, by the way, here's a $300 million tax increase. And so the leaders are like, nope, we need to find other alternatives. We need to reimagine and rethink, because we're concerned that our constituents who already pay high taxes. I don't know if you've looked at the taxes if you're not from Chicago. It doesn't matter where you are, but based on assessed value, there are some high taxes, because you got to pay for a whole bunch of programs going on that may or may not be actually, best use of money, but that's what you're doing. And I think in many of our lifetimes, we've never seen this 50-0. So it sends a message that the massive property tax increase he was looking for, it's not going to happen. Hey, what do you guys think? We're just going to do just a scooch of a property tax here. It's going to be fine. It'll just be transitory. Taxes never go down, do they? If you're enjoying this content, love to have you check out reasonabletv.com. Recently released, I did a reaction video. Andrew Tate has advice for liberal celebrities who flee the USA. It is quite spicy. You will want to see that. It's on our private channel. It would cost you nothing for 14 days. If you're dying to watch that video, you can hop on. You got to put your credit card info in there, and it'll charge you automatically unless you cancel. That's just the way this works. But you can cancel within 14 days and it's free. Otherwise, it's $3.99 a month, $39.99 a year. Love to have you check it out. We got all kinds of stuff on there. So thanks in advance. Back to your regular scheduled program. And this was all stated by 32nd Ward Alderman Scott Wogespack. But it also sent some message that, if he's looking to get attention by sticking seniors and families with a massive tax it's not the way to govern. Not the way to govern. You don't say. But you know what? You elected a progressive mayor who is doing exactly what he said he was going to do. Mayor the town, lead the city of Chicago in a progressive direction. This is that progressive direction. So what are we bitching about here, right? What are we bitching about? You got nothing to bitch about. You guys put this guy in office. So if you want things to change, maybe you need to put some folks in that are a little bit more, reasonable. Make America reasonable again. We're coming out with merch. It's being developed right now. City Council did not address what they would do to close the gap without the property tax hike. That's because they don't know, and they're going to have a bunch of talks and discussions to come up with, you got this big budget deficit. What are we doing? Now, the question for us as a council is, how are we going to balance that budget? So we said no to a property tax increase at the level of $300 million. Well, what are we for? And that's the conversation that we need to be having at this moment. 35th Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa said, we collectively are coming together and saying no to increase property taxes at that level. But I think it also sends a message to Springfield. Our property tax system is broken. And the only way that we're going to fix this is through legislation in Springfield. The special meeting was organized after 29 aldermen signed a letter opposing Johnson's proposed $300 million property tax hike. And they submitted it. And it was basically a letter just directly giving the FU to Johnson saying, no, homie, don't play that game. The mayor said it was needed to help avoid layoffs, furloughs, and cuts to other programs. Well, you're going to have to find it somewhere else. Many aldermen said that they were against the property tax hike. I think they're against, let's go Brandon Johnson in general, because he has just been, how much money did they spend on the illegals? How much money? Knowing the tax revenue is going down. This is not a cycle where tax revenue is going up. It's just not. It's just not. You've got high interest rates, high interest rate environment. You don't have the transfers of real estate. You don't have the excise tax transfers. You don't have property values going up for the most part. You don't have property values. You don't have businesses stabilizing in your downtown cores. In fact, you've got the opposite of that. And the downtown cores are so much of what funds all of these budgets. And that's all gone the opposite direction because we had the pandemic and we ended emptied out cities because that was just the genius, thing to do. There was a little bit of the flu going around. Guys, we got to close everything down. This might be terrible. Might not, but let's close everything down. Meanwhile, Florida stays open and it's fine. What this does is resets the process in short order. A good day for the taxpayers in the city of Chicago. The mayor had hoped to come to some sort of agreement Thursday with city council members. He basically said that this was the first in negotiations on the issue. And city council members said, no, we're not doing that. Aldermanic sources said that the behind-the-scenes negotiation could result in the tax hikes being reduced to as low as $100 million. Well, and didn't even get there, right? The mayor has not confirmed any figures, but during a briefing on Tuesday, said he's open to lowering it. He's basically said he's open to whatever because he was getting so spanked on the issue that he knew it wasn't going anywhere. And that's eventually what happened yesterday is they just said, yet, right? As the process of trying to close the budget gap starts fresh, it'll be truncated. City Council is to balance the budget by year's end, but there are questions on where that money will come from. I'm sure they'll figure it out. Let's go. Brandon Johnson's been squawking for federal money for the homeless for a long time because he knew this was a coming. So I think everybody should take at least one furlough day per pay period. Okay. All right. And so let's go. Brandon Johnson's like, no, we're not committed to cutting services. And he goes on to say, like we heard him, which day do you think Chicagoans want police officers to not be on the job? Well, clearly you can't do the cops. Yeah. I mean, what do you cut? What do you cut? Hey, you guys, how about just not getting your garbage picked up every other week? Would that be? Would that be fine? I mean, just, you keep your taxes the same, but we need to save some money. Therefore, help a brother out. It's literally what they're saying, right? Tweaking alternative taxes on items like alcohol and cigarettes has also been raised. I'm sure that's going to go over well. That's going to go over just great. So is increasing garbage collection fees. Mayor Johnson is adamant about not cutting city services, but the money has to come from somewhere, doesn't it? It's got to come from somewhere. You can't just, we're just going to keep running on a deficit and maybe we'll float the budget, but here's some bond money. We'll just print money like the federal government. Doesn't really work like that, does it? No. So we can't have a situation where we're going to go back to the taxpayers asking for more money. Well, that sounds like at some point in time, something's going to have to break, right? What is that going to be? Hall's confident they'll come to an agreement soon. He said if it takes until December 31st, they'll work until the very last day. It's one of these things where he throws something out kind of early on in negotiating and they basically came back and said, nope. And then he has to approach it from a different direction, right? No taxes. No taxes, like you campaigned on. Very progressive, but no taxes. But the mayor still refuses to lay out what his plan B is going to be regarding any smaller property taxing. I don't think Let's Go Brandon Johnson ever has a plan B. He just flies by the seat of his pants and, we'll just fly this up the flagpole and we'll just see what happens. We'll just see how this goes. So also on Thursday, 32 aldermen will file an amendment to include gunshot detection technology in the 2025 budget. Proposal is $15.8 million for gunshot detection technology. That is ShotSpotter. Let's Go Brandon Johnson took away ShotSpotter, which is technology that sends police officers to an area where gunshots are known to be fired. You know, Let's Go Brandon Johnson and all the progressives, they always say that, well, it just brings more police into the community because where we have all these shootings is kind of the lower end socioeconomic portions of the community, and that is racist. So there's literally a website called, it's CWB Chicago does a series called Brandon's Bodies. And these are all the bodies that they find after a shooting where they used to have ShotSpotter technology. And I think they're up to, a few days ago, I think it was 13, 14, 15. So you've got shootings happening, people being killed, people bleeding out and dying because Let's Go Brandon Johnson has his head up his ass and he needs to reinstate ShotSpotter technology. A bunch of cities have it. But people always argue, we don't want to have 911 coming to our community a lot. How about you cut down on the shootings? What about that? Oh, no, you can't do that. It's technology that I know there's police out there that, it's kind of a mixed bag. I've had a number of different reactions. I've asked people, what do you think about ShotSpotter technology? And I don't really know, from a police standpoint. But I am guessing if Let's Go Brandon Johnson says it's a terrible thing, I'm going to go with reinstate it. Get it back in there. It's only $15.8 million and you've got lives on the line. Come on now. I know you need to cut costs, but it's like, I need to get rid of a bunch of ambulances because, we got to get the money from somewhere. No. And ShotSpotter technology, if it saves 1 or 2 lives, $15.8 million, and it's going to save more than that. And maybe it also puts some of the bad guys away, Lord knows you could do that. But anywho, all right, this is the ShotSpotter is set to be fully disabled November 22nd. This is progress, right? This is what you get with a progressive mayor. Progress. Yeah, technology that helps you and saves lives. No, we can't have that. Racism. All right, that's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here.